Rocco?
Hi everyone, I'm Rocco Degree. I play the Gravedigger in the very beginning. I play Farmer Stuyvesant, and I also play the ghost of Long John Silver. It is any pirate in the play, but we like to call him Long John Silver. Right now, I'm taking online classes at HCC. I'm a theater major, and how I'm adapting, I'm spending a lot of time writing original music and working on film.
Great. Kaylee?
Hi, my name is Kaylee Flanagan, and this is my friend Gus. He'll be back. Um, I just finished my junior year at Nazareth. Oh, okay. First of all, who I played. I was Mrs. Van Tassel and also the woman in white. You couldn't see my face because I had a veil and it was really cool. I just finished my junior year at Nazareth College in Rochester, New York, studying musical theater. Um, I mean, definitely different since performances and such were canceled, but it's been exciting to explore some of the remote learning and trying to hopefully do some like virtual scene work and um, productions and things like that. So yeah.
Great. You play a third character in the play, don't forget.
Oh yes, Mrs. Van Tassel's.
Twin sister, right? Yeah. Yeah, we'll get to that.
So sorry to hear your twin sister would miss him.
Molly Cloud.
Oh, hello. I'm Molly Damon Rush on here, but I go by Molly McLeod. I've got to play Katrina Van Tassel in the show, and currently I am continuing my acting career. I still do stuff at the Majestic. I was going to be in 9 to 5, which tragically got pushed back due to obviously everything that's going on right now. And I'm also focusing on my art career. I'm focusing on tattoo design right now, which is very exciting. And yeah, I'm just living the dream, having a great time.
Great, Molly. And Rocco was also going to be in 9 to 5 with you. So we have two people here from Children's Theater who are going to be on main stage shows, which is great. Giuseppe.
I'm Giuseppe Santinello. I played Ichabod Crane. I'm at UMass. I just finished my sophomore year, literally 2 days ago. So that was exciting. And to keep up, I mean, if you came to my house, you just hear me screaming and singing all the time. Like that's literally all I do. So.
Great. Thanks, Giuseppe. Josh?
Hi, I'm Joshua True. I play Yacht Van Ripper, the sidekick to our main antagonist we have in the show. You could say he's like what was it? Gaston LeFou, right?
LeFou to his Gaston, yeah.
Yeah, like a LeFou type. And about like 3 days ago, I closed out my freshman year at Dean College for musical theater. To keep busy, I was in the musical last semester. I was going to be in the one this semester, but obviously plans changed. So to keep up, I just blare music 24/7 whenever I'm whenever I'm practicing or playing or just sitting and doing nothing. And so that's how I keep busy.
Great. Thanks, Josh. Let's go to Natalie.
Hi, I'm Natalie Pettit. I played Wilda Van Twiller, and I still do plays at school, musicals at school, and I'm going to middle school next year, and they have a theater group, so I'm excited to join that.
Thanks, Natalie. And yes, full disclosure, Natalie is my niece. Wanted to have a town, if you're presenting a town on stage and you have limited, you can only hire so many people. It's nice to have people who are different ages and literally different heights and things. So, wanted to have someone who was on the younger side. And how old are you when you did it, Natalie?
I think I was 8.
8, and it was just easier to, have her mother, my sister-in-law, there to hang out. She was on board, so it just made it easier, which is why. And she did a great job. Let's go to the other Molly. Molly, as I sometimes call you, because you spell your name differently.
Hi, I'm Molly Robinson. I play Joanna Van Trop in Sleepy Hollow, and although I am just about to finish up my senior year of high school, and I will be pursuing theater in college in the fall. I'm about how I've been adjusting to the theater world during the COVID-19 outbreak that we are experiencing now. A lot of my plans for theater that's upcoming this year have been pushed back or postponed. So I'm going to just try my best to see. So I'm taking a break for now. I'm going to try my best to see what this next season in 2021 is going to bring, and in the meantime, prepare for future auditions and in both theater and film.
Okay. Thanks, Molly. I see Anirudh next.
Hi, my name is Ani, and I play Hedrick Van Foost and the native Indian boy, the Ghost of Mowgli. Right now I'm in 7th grade, and I'm just interested in art and music. I'm in a band in my school. I play the trumpet, and yeah, that's it.
Yeah, your teacher is actually, or you did have a teacher that taught you the trumpet, Don Rivero.
Yeah.
Plays bass for us a lot in our band pits.
Oh, yeah.
So we have that connection. Oh, and real quick, I want to make an edit too. So in the program, there's all 3 shows for the summer season. So the Ghost of Mowgli was in Aladdin and the Wonderful Lamp. So the Native American boy you play is not Mowgli. I don't know who he is. Running Bear or something. I don't know if you gave yourself a name, but we'll get to that. Thanks, Ani. I see Maddie next.
Hi, I'm Maddie Hartling. I just finished my freshman year at University of Rhode Island. I major in pharmacy, and then I minor in Spanish, biology, and theater. Haven't done too much theater besides my classes, which are interesting online. I most recently played Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, and I've been doing as much singing as I can at home because no one wants to hear that in my dorm, so I'm taking advantage of it here.
And who did you play in the show?
The show I did at school was Alice in Wonderland, and I was the White Rabbit.
Great. Who did you play in?
Oh, in the show. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
I played Greta Van Hudson.
Van Hudson. Okay. Thanks, Maddie. And Felix.
Unmute.
Hi, my name is Felix Antumensa. I am now a senior in high school. Unfortunately, our year got, cut short, but it is what it is. Next year, I plan to go to the University of Connecticut, where I will major in physiology and neurobio, which is exciting, very exciting. In the show, kind of flip-flopping here, but in the show, I played Brom Bones, the main antagonist, sort of. Yeah, I don't know what I would call him, but
we'll get to that.
And to keep busy, I've been chilling, playing video games. I play a little piano, so every now and then I'll go and sit behind the piano, practice a little bit. But it's been
good for you. Felix. That's great. Yeah, Felix actually played Schroeder in when we did You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown, and I took advantage of his piano playing skills, and he actually played the piano. When Lucy sang her song, which was just playing Moonlight Sonata. And he did that brilliantly. It was fun to see Schroeder actually play. If you look up most clips of Your Good Man, Charlie Brown, they're just going like this. So I want to just do kind of what we did last time. We did a little, for those watching at home, we did a rehearsal a week or two ago. We had a really nice discussion, and I hope to get back on some of those points and things that were brought up and go ahead and just ask the same questions. And I think when we started after our introductions, I just threw the floor open to you guys, I believe. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that, and let's see where this leads us. Go ahead, ask your questions, whether it is production related about, set design or whatever, sound effects or music, or if it's about the story itself, whether our adaptation or the original story. I'm hoping folks at home looked up the short story, which is a pleasure to read, and it's interesting to talk about some of the to compare and contrast, as they say in school, the old, the original story with our adaptation of it. So go ahead, I'm going to throw it out there. Anyone feel free to start. Joshua True.
So I wanted to ask my fellow actors here, what was so when you knew you were going to be in the show, what was the first version you went to of this show to kind of get into the setting of it? Was it like the cartoon? Was it the old movie, the book, short story? What was kind of the first thing you threw yourself into? For me personally, it was the Disney cartoon, which, obviously there are a couple of differences in there, but I thought it was fun to just kind of get an idea of what I would be getting into. So.
Well, the first thing Steve said to me was, "Don't watch the Johnny Depp movie." So
Yes.
I ended up watching, like you said, the cartoon, and there was other clips I would watch that he would tell me like what he wanted me to look into, and like that's what I did. Just looked into little clips.
Anybody else?
I watched the Disney cartoon also.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, same.
I recalled a lot about colonial life, basically in America, and that's how I basically got into my character for the role.
Yeah, that's important. The setting is definitely, it couldn't be anywhere else but like the early 1800s in a, small little town.
Yeah, and then I just added more to my character as I read through the script.
Yeah. Anyone else?
I like had a weird like flashback. I don't know if you remember this, Ani and Natalie, but there was a day I remember like going to the library right next door and reading some of the story together, and like it's like just one of the coolest memories that I have of the show is like getting to like go back to the source but like read that together. So
yeah, so I think it's amazing to look up different adaptations. I'm surprised I told you not to watch the Johnny Depp. I feel like I encourage. The thing is, people at home, I encourage. Some directors don't, but go and see what's out there. Look up other stage adaptations that are on YouTube. Use YouTube and things to your advantage. See what other movies did, and again, you can take things, nitpick things that you like from it, or you can say, I don't want to do that. And so it's good to use those resources.
I think you were just saying it was too dark and like not exactly what we were going for. So
yeah, I think last time I think it's visually gorgeous, but the story is so off the wall and neither violent for kids. I don't really get it. But at the same time, I would think about this too with Sleepy Hollow. The whole nature of it is that it's a short story. It's a small town. It's quaint. It's our play is only an hour total, not including intermission, and it should be that way. So I feel for Tim Burton having to come up with like a full 2-hour movie,
Yeah.
And the other thing I want to mention too and we can get into this later, but is that as visually beautiful as the Tim Burton movie is, and how much it captures like New England and Halloween and that whole look, the fog and all that stuff. Even the scenes in the daytime always are just like gray and black and white. But I like in the book and in our version that when it's daytime, it's autumn in New England, and it's beautiful and it's colorful, and there's a lot of light and things like that. But then when it switches to nighttime, it's completely different, and it's scary, and it's black and white and that sort of thing.
Well, I was a bit of I actually read the book first when I was in 5th grade. And what he found interesting rereading it is that it's sort of he sort of told it in the tradition of a traditional like Grimm's fairy tale or folk tale in that sense. It wasn't sort of Edgar Allan Poe-ish in any way, where he was sort of getting into this really nasty psychology. It was sort of just a fun folk tale that he came up with for New England.
Yeah, and I think that's another interesting where the Tim Burton one maybe goes wrong, and I see a lot of other adaptations online where stage shows of Sleepy Hollow, and they're so serious and they're so dark, and I'm like, where's the humor? This is a humorous story. It's supposed to be funny. It's supposed to be dark and funny, or scary and funny, which is kind of that's the nature of Halloween, right? Trick or treat. So yeah, I like that I think we captured there's spookiness. You can hear some people gasp, and there's a couple jump scares. I think when the pirate pops out for the first time. But it's also funny, which I think is important.
Bailey, now that you mentioned like going to the library and reading the book, I think I remember vaguely that me and you mentioned it to Giuseppe, and I said, yeah, we'll come. And then we just played chess the entire time.
I remember that.
You pulled up the book, you went, all right, let's read. Me and Giuseppe went.
Remember Giuseppe beating me by the skin of his teeth.
Giuseppe went at it for like 10 years.
That was long.
Carly, you're go ahead.
Yeah, to the material of the play overall, we had a question from the audience.
Great.
Katie wants to know, were you able to notice any children in the audience who were, visibly frightened, and was it distracting at all?
No,
I did.
Yeah.
I saw a
Yeah,
few.
go ahead, guys. I'll throw it open to you, and then I'll give my 2 cents.
I think I heard crying sometimes. I don't know if it may have been this show or like sometimes I'll hear crying and I'm like, oh man, like, and I'll be on stage doing my lines and I'm like, oh, I feel bad, but like I can't. I'm sorry, but I'm sorry.
Scenes were all comedic relief, so the most I saw was a kid looking at me and going, I had the dunce cap on. I'm just like, yeah, okay.
Anyone else?
Most of my scenes were post scary part, so I didn't really see much crying. I saw aftermath.
True.
I thought what was always cool was like during the big chase scene where the headless horseman actually like appears and is chasing Ichabod, and we had like the projection and stuff. Like I remember there being kind of an interesting mix between like there were like some kind of screams, but a lot of like laughter too.
Yeah.
Nice balance between like Giuseppe made like the running really fun and like
yeah, you know it's funny. It's funny. Rocco, go ahead. You're gonna.
Oh yes. I was gonna say I think we had a really great mix here in the show because like in the very beginning with the Gravedigger, we get like a lot of laughs and like immediately like sets the mood for the show that like we're all here to have a good time and like yes it's spooky but we're here to entertain you guys. You guys are all kids like with your families, so I think we have a really nice balance where we have some like really great visuals here in the show with costumes in the set, and we have like a very clear fall setting. We have a nice Halloween setting, and it's spooky, but it's enjoyable, and it's not gonna like scare any kids out of their pants. So we had a really great mix.
Yeah, it was a struggle. Go ahead, Ben.
I do remember one time when the first scene is and the pumpkin comes up and a little kitty, I think up the back, just started wailing as loud as he could and said, I want to leave, it's too scary. And sure enough, the mother carted him away.
Oh no.
I feel like...
Go ahead, Molly. Or whoever was talking.
Oh, sorry. I feel like if Kaylee got a laugh in the opening scene, we were good. Because that was very dark, dark lighting, should have scared the kids a little bit because there was like ghost moves. But if Kaylee got a laugh, then I was like, okay, we're okay. The kids are gonna be okay.
She was talking about science. That was real scary.
I will say it's tough. It's tough for any show. It's tough for any show. It's tough. Oop, I can hear myself. It's tough to please. I'm hearing myself. Somebody.
I feel it.
I'm working on that. Sorry, guys.
Thanks. You got it.
There we go.
It's tough to pick out shows in general for children's theater because the audience is so broad. You don't want the parents to be I want the parents to have a good time. They're after all they're paying for it and they make up half the crowd or maybe more sometimes. But also the kids age range. People come in with 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds up to 10-year-olds, 11-year-olds who are starting to feel too cool for children's theater, things like that. So it's tough to strike a good balance, particularly with this one where I didn't want to scare kids, but I also don't want the play to wuss out on the scary element. I wanted kids to gasp and get a little spooked, but then laugh.
We didn't wuss out.
And I think it's fun too to again, and that's the nature of the story. When you go see a horror movie or a movie with jump scares, everyone gets scared, and then what do they do immediately after?
Oh, I laugh.
Yeah.
You laugh at yourself, and that happens a couple times in the production. Thankfully, we had such a nice crowd for this recording, and the performance is nice and smooth. The pumpkin didn't fall apart or whatever things I've heard from other performances.
I know for the part where I tell my story, my little encounter with the Headless Horseman. I try to go for a lot of I talk low, and all of a sudden I jump in like jump scared the thing, and I thought a few times I would get a little from the audience or something, and I felt pretty accomplished from one of those. So I think scare them a little bit, and then they'll giggle a little bit. A little bit of that.
Yeah,
there's some really dynamic storytelling there. It was very effective.
It is.
This screenshot here, it demonstrates very well. This is the moment.
Yep.
Yeah, he's telling the story. Yeah, and look
I
at
was
that.
actually scared. I was
Together and
terrified.
scared. And if you notice in that scene, the lights dim and the footlights come up. So there's it casts shadows behind everybody, and gives it a creepy atmosphere and gives it the look. I was hoping to give it the look of like a room would look, an 18 whatever, lit by a fireplace or gas lamps or whatever. So lit by fire, you know. And there's a couple scenes where when they're indoors, there was a crackling fire effect sound underneath the scene, but I don't think you can't. The video recording didn't pick it up, unfortunately, but it was there. Anybody else have anything? Josh, go ahead.
Quick.
Yeah.
Just on the topic of like jump scares and stuff, I think one time during rehearsal, I went out like to the lobby to go fill up my water bottle, and I came back as Rocco was doing his like pirate entrance and did like the and like jumped out. I think it actually did scare me for a moment. Came through the door and I heard you.
There's a beautiful when the horseman finally appears for that brief couple seconds at the end. There's a beautiful little on the recording. I don't know if you guys noticed that, but I love that. It sounds like a genuine gasp.
I remember there was one night where they all did scream and jump out of their seats for one of them. That was the best one I think we ever had.
That's great. And that sound effect of the boots walking is awesome.
That was good.
That's
such a great
for it because it was a nice sound effect, and it really works. It sounds like your footsteps, but it's not. It's a sound effect. Rocco.
I think a really great visual moment that's supposed to be scary is in the very beginning with the Pumpkin Scarecrow, and then it just turns out it's just Ian, well, the actor, setting up the Scarecrow, and it's a really great effect there with the lights and the light inside the jack-o'-lantern. That's a really great visual moment that also like sets the tone of the play, being like, oh look, here it is, like something very scary. And then it just turns out it's just something completely normal, which goes on to the theme of the play, being like, are there ghosts, or is it just things that just happen to line up, like Rombones doing it?
Yeah.
Or did
things going bump in the night, and then your imagination runs away with you. And I like that even the Gravedigger starts the show, right, with Rocco, and he's all confident, it's telling the ghost story, the Headless Horseman's going to get you. But then you hear, and it's a little tough to hear on the recording, but there's a carriage pulling up, and that's the twin sister, Mrs. Van Tassel, arriving in town, and you're scared by that, and that scares you off. But it's just someone arriving, and then someone else comes in who, again, acts confident and not scared, and then a minute later is running off terrified. And that was a mistake. That was just someone setting up their scarecrow. So yeah, you're right, Rocco. It sets up the themes of the play nicely. Maddie, I see your hand.
Off of what Rocco said about setting the theme of the play, I remember one note I got. It was the scene where the women of the town are telling Ichabod about the Headless Horseman for the first time. And I remember you told me that we're trying to scare him, but there's a little part of us that believes it. So to be kind of fooling around and trying to get him to be scared, but also like in our looks to each other, we kind of were like, okay, but we have seen these things before. And then immediately we went to laughing and joking with him again. So it went on that, is it true or is it just a joke kind of theme?
Yeah, absolutely. And I love when I think we added it in where someone goes, I hear the horses galloping at night too. I hear it too. And then little Natalie on the floor is like, yeah, me too. Bud looks at her like, like there's something creepy about, a little girl saying, yeah, I hear the ghost. So casually.
It's almost like they want to believe that there's no ghosts, but then they get like tricked into thinking there really are.
Yeah, that, and even just the opposite. Like they don't believe, but they want to, right? That's Mulder's line, right? I want to believe, or whatever. Someone else? Anyone else?
I think a really great moment to play. It's just very, very minimal. Right when Ichabod Crane first passes out, Molly It's like just says a little ad lib. It's like, oh no, we killed another one.
I remember
that too.
It's so small, but like that's so
It's
so
so
funny.
great.
Like what happened to the last
Oh
one.
man.
Yeah, it's established that people come into this town and then get scared off, or the town is so tight knit they just can't blend in. Yeah, so it's funny to think that they go through many different schoolmasters, and this one arrives and they think he's dropped dead. Molly Robinson.
Yeah, earlier in how we were talking about Brom Bones, I believe that I see him sort of like I hope I'm using this word correctly. He's an antagonist, but he's also a protagonist at the same time. Like it's he's in love with Katrina, but at the same time he's kind of like he's a troublemaker. He bosses people around. He's not really a good influence on the kids of Sleepy Hollow. But at the same time, he's known Katrina for years, and we're led to believe in the end that he genuinely does love her, no matter how like rough and tough he may seem about himself. He does care about her. And
Yeah.
he knows that Ichabod is going to just use her for her money.
Yeah. So let's turn it to Giuseppe and Felix then. Let's talk about the characters of Brom Bones and Ichabod Crane. I mean, who's the protagonist? Is Brom Bones bad? Is Ichabod good? Bad? What's going on?
I think that's the beauty of this story too, is that there's no way to really determine if Brom Bones is he really a bad guy, or is he just like what is he? I think Brom Bones shows himself to be a troublemaker, right? He likes to play pranks. He likes to mess around with people, but at the same time, he always has good intentions when it comes to Katrina. That's a trait of a good guy for sure. Whereas Ichabod, I don't know if Giuseppe wants to speak on this, but it becomes more and more evident that he has scary or lying intentions with Katrina and just perishing her type of thing. Whereas Brom Bones shows he does care about this girl, so I don't. It's nice. He has two sides to him, Brom Bones.
There's good character arcs. Go ahead.
So, I mean, I come into this town and I'm supposed to be a teacher, and I don't teach the kids anything. I just, I'm like, how many Colts in a gallon and stuff like that.
Random information.
They're just like, that doesn't matter. And then like I go house to house, I just eat people out of house and home. That's kind of like a real life characteristic though as well. And another thing is like you'll notice a lot of lines that's like, Katrina, how many acres are on your farm? Or like how I long to run my fingers through your gold.
Yeah.
Golden hair, I mean, like stuff like that. It's just he's terrible. His intentions are so obvious. He's terrible.
Yeah, and he's whapping the kids with the ruler. Yeah, he's not exactly a great guy, you know.
Oh, the dunce cap. Oh, man.
Yeah, and same with Brom Bones. He's he starts off as just bullshit. Ooh, I'm hearing myself again on somebody. There we go.
There we go.
You guys hear me all right?
Yep.
It's interesting. It's interesting that the character starts off one way and ends up kind of another. But Molly McLeod, do you want to talk about your character at all, Katrina? Because we talked about the two boys trying to woo Katrina, and how she deals with it. Anything to say?
Yeah, so I think she obviously she grows up in a small town surrounded by this community, and growing up with Brom Bones, probably everyone was like, oh, you're gonna marry Brom Bones. Probably even their parents were like, oh, this would work. This is a good match here. So she probably grew up with that thought in mind. And when this new guy comes to town who is a little bit more exciting, a little bit more intellectual, more different, she's like, oh, I can have some fun with this. I can like really spend some time with this person, but not really seriously considering it as an option for the future or for like marriage. And so obviously she's like having fun, and then when Ichabod proposes to her out of nowhere, it very clearly scares her off and makes her realize her true destination is going to be with Brom Bones.
All right, because he sticks up for her at that moment too, which is part of Ichabod a second later is saying, has a line, was Katrina using me to taunt Brom Bones?
Yeah.
This whole time. So in other words, like just to get Brom Bones to be assertive and fight for her and stick up for her and not just assume that he's gonna marry her. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think she was a little bit tired of Brom Bones dragging his feet. So anything she can do to kind of get him to wake up and realize that it's time for them to actually get together, she'll take that opportunity.
Yeah. Anybody else? Any question at all? Production, story, anything like that? Josh?
I just wanted to touch on like is Brom Bones the bad guy or is he not for a second? Because I feel like even though I compared because my character was like a sidekick, it was like a Gaston LeFou kind of thing. But like he's not like Gaston, in which he's very he's not aggressive, he's not overly aggressive. Like we mentioned, he is very he does have good intentions. He just wants to be with Katrina. And the only trouble he causes is just kind of schoolyard pranks to this new guy, which like we said, Ichabod had some moments where he's like you said, how many acres does your family own again? So it's kind of a weird, they're both kind of good, but they both have their moments where they're just they can be viewed as the bad guy. So it just kind of jumps to one or the other.
Yeah. Carly, I see you up here.
Yeah, we have another question from the audience here. Mama True wants to know, did anyone have any pre-show rituals?
Go ahead, Maddie.
I'm pretty sure it was for this show. I think it was Josh had this big bag of Sour Patch Kids. And they were giant Sour Patch Kids. They were this big. And we would all eat one or two before every show because according to Josh, the sour cleared your vocal cords. I don't know if that's true, but that kind of became our ritual.
Only reason to eat Sour Patch Kids all the time.
And the sugar hyped you up.
Oh, we got banned from Nerds after Josh spilled those, so Sour Patch Kids were our alternative.
I think it was 2 years in a row I just spilled an entire box of Nerds on the floor of the stage, so I switched to Sour Patch Kids because they were less mess.
Rocco?
My favorite pre-show tradition, especially at Majestic Theater, is to just pace back and forth, backstage right, back and forth, all the time, just trying to clear my head. Nowadays, I like to do sirens as a vocal warm-up. I had another one, but it just lost me, so come back to me.
We would play music a lot in the boys' dressing room, for sure.
Dressing room too.
Yep, we have music going in either dressing room at all times, pretty much.
I remember we used to knock on your wall and ask you to play us a song. Or this one next.
Do you guys remember the Sleepy Hollow Boys, the fake band?
Oh my gosh.
I forgot about that.
What's that?
Wait,
Sleepy Hollow Boys is how I think they touch upon in the play, but in the original short story that it's in the very beginning they just call Brom Bones and his friends the Sleepy Hollow Boys, and then backstage we turned it into a band.
We did that for You're a Good Man Charlie Brown too, because we just
I still have that video.
Oh my god, because we would just one of us would start beatboxing and the other one would start doing backup vocals, and then one of us would jump in and sing just random lyrics. It was fun.
Rocco, do you want to ask your question that you'd asked last time about with the Headless Horseman and who is it? Is it Brom Bones? What are we?
Absolutely. So, of course, this is a legend. Sleepy Hollow is a real place, but within the short story and the play itself, I guess I'll open this question up to all you guys. What do you think actually happens? It's such an important question that we break character at the end and say, what do you think? Do you think that in the world of this play there is a headless horseman that chased Ichabod Crane off, or is this just Brom Bones trying to scare him off to get Katrina. And what does that mean for the rest of the play? I'll open that question up to you guys.
Go ahead, Maddie.
I think it's Brom Bones playing a prank, but I think that the best part of the show is the not knowing. I think that's really the coolest thing, is that you get to piece it together as you watch it. And I mean, even I was in it, obviously, and there's no clear-cut answer. I think there's just all of our speculation. But personally, I think it was Brom Bones, because he has that Hessian coin at the end that he gave to Katrina in the beginning.
Yeah, that's a nice setup and payoff right there.
Yeah.
And it was cool that we get to leave the audience with their decision of what do they think happens.
Yeah, and I love that there's a chuckle, you know, when everyone says, "What do you think?" and it just blacks out on those final two little notes of that song, and people kind of chuckle at that, and it just leaves it up to you, and whatever, it's done, you know. Good, Kaylee.
So I mean, on the surface, I definitely also think that it was Brom Bones, but I think what's kind of interesting, and I think Ben brought this up last time, reading through the original story, at the very end, you kind of are reminded that this is like a story within a story. So there's someone telling this, he heard it from someone else, and at the end, I think the storyteller says, like, you know, I don't even think I half believe it myself. And I think, you know, our posing that question at the end was kind of the closest that you get to kind of presenting and sharing in that, like, oh, this is a fable, like, this wasn't actually real. So you can even wonder if any of this happened, if that makes sense. Like, there's kind of an added level of mystery, because in that moment we weren't just like the members of the town, we were also like the actors, the storytellers, kind of sharing in that and presenting it as like a mystery, as a like a myth, you know, and kind of like, you know, how much of this can you even trust? You know, do you trust us? Like,
yeah, but let me just say too, and I think Ben brought this up before, that the end of there's a big theme of folklore storytelling, and the idea that stories, you know, if they're not on paper, they were passed down just orally, just told, you know, like around the fireside. And Washington Irving in the book does a neat thing where he's pretending to be, I forget the first name, but something Knickerbocker, you know, so he has like an alias. And then at the very end of the tale, he says, "This is what some old man told me at a party, word for word." So it's a tale within a tale within a tale, you know. And I think one of the nice details of that is that it makes it feel more real, in a sense. Like, this is just what someone told me. There's a beautiful moment where he says, "Now, I wasn't there for this part, so I don't know what happened between Katrina and Ichabod, but something happened between them. I wasn't there. I didn't overhear it. So who knows what happened?" That's just the author having fun with you, you know.
Yeah.
And it makes it feel more realistic that I was there and I experienced. Go ahead, Ben. You're gonna say something.
I think if my memory serves me right, at the very end, it is Washington Irving using an alias, listening to this old guy tell the story at a fire. But the twist he puts in is he describes what possibly is Ichabod Crane as an old man sitting in the corner, shrugging his shoulders, saying, "I don't know," but it's kind of like even maybe that character's given the wink wink, like, I know what happened at the end of the day.
There's a suggestion that the old man telling the story to the fake Washington Irving character, Phineas, whatever, is Ichabod Crane himself as an old man. So he was just chased out of town. Let me just say too, you know, I think I said, we talked about this in rehearsals, what I had said to you guys was like, yeah, of course it's Brom Bones, you know? Of course it's Brom Bones as the Headless Horseman, but you kind of have to lean in and go, you know, or was it? You know, and if you don't have that, you know, or was it? Maybe. Then yeah, you're doing a disservice to the story. But I think it's interesting too, when we say, "What do you think?" to all the kids at the end, all the kids say, "Horseman." You know, because that is more fun. You know, to believe that is more fun. And what's kind of interesting is, as an adult, you get a chuckle thinking that it was Brom Bones playing a prank. You know.
Yeah.
So,
Go
ahead, Ben.
And if it's the horseman, it's saying the horseman. It's also the least likely. So it's or it's not the obvious option of the story. It seems like Brom Bones would be the most obvious. So it's almost interesting that the kids would pick the less obvious of the two.
Yeah, they go for the more fun, the supernatural explanation. You know. Anybody else? Anything? Any question at all?
Any question at all?
Natalie.
I had a theory because how Sleepy Hollow is like a really small town with not a lot of people. So what if Brom Bones scared away new people? Not necessarily Ichabod because he was also wanting Katrina, but like in the sense that he didn't want any more people in the town. He wanted to keep it small and that kind of mystery.
Ooh.
Yeah, well, we talked about that last time a little bit, just about how the town is so tight knit that it's hard for anybody who's an outsider to come in and blend in with them. They seem to all contribute to kicking him out.
I say they're all comfortable with their day to day, so a new guy coming in might as well have some fun.
Yeah, I love all the small town kind of stuff, the gossip group, the people nodding their head, until you get a laugh, the Ja from the Dutch heritage. Go ahead, Rocco, you're gonna say something.
Well, just touching upon that real quick, one of my favorite parts in the play is when we're just like all the townspeople together and we're just like, oh, yeah, yeah, we just nod our heads for like the perfect amount of time. But what I wanted to bring up is a contrast between our play and the original short story. One of them is that in the original short story, he believes in ghosts, and history of New England witchcraft, he firmly believes. And then in our play, it's total nonsense. So that's an interesting contrast there. Can we find any other contrast between the original short story and our version?
Well, before we go off on any other differences, let's address that one. So yeah, in the original short story, he's got the book on New England witchcraft. He talks about ghosts and stuff, but he goes, nonsense, of course. It makes for good fiction. It's just for fun, but it's nonsense. Don't believe it. And yeah, I threw that line in there. He says it several times. You guys want to? I'll leave it. I'll leave it to you. I'll throw it to you. Why did I do that?
I think one thing that it did for sure is it added actually comedy for the part where the women were telling him the story and they would tell him, we've seen ghosts, this and this and that, and then he'd get scared and he'd be like, oh, ghosts, it's nothing, of course, stuff like that. It kind of made it funny, like he'd get scared, lose his I don't know the word for that, lose his confidence in there, and then he'd be like, oh, never mind, it's nothing, and it just kept building to that him losing his confidence and putting it back, and I think it was kind of funny. It was like a little thing for Ichabod to have. Like, he wanted so bad to not believe that these things were real. At the same time, he was indeed terrified. He was indeed.
And it speaks volumes to his character. That he says, "Oh, I firmly don't believe this," but at the drop of a bump in the night, he's cowering, like a coward. It creates a nice inner conflict for the character. And you're right, Felix, it's for comedic purposes. If someone says they don't believe in ghosts, but then is terrified the next minute, that's funnier than someone who believed in ghosts in the first place. It's not as funny when Dan Aykroyd's character in Ghostbusters is scared, because his character firmly believes in ghosts, him and Dan Aykroyd himself. But it's funny when the sarcastic, skeptical Bill Murray, right, is scared of Slimer, right? He's looking at me, right? Natalie.
It can also be something for like older people or kids can understand, because like if they've read the short story, they can contribute it back, and say like that it's only something they would get because it's total nonsense. Him saying that, like, don't believe in it. It almost sounds fake enough where you can think maybe he really does believe in it.
Yeah, and it shows his hypocrisy, right? It shows negative things about his character, and I like that the playwright does a nice thing, too, where, God, I lost my train of thought. Where he's scared of the ghosts, and then a minute later says, "Oh, I'll take on the ghosts." But then he cowers when Brom Bones approaches him, and he's cowering behind Katrina. And then as soon as he leaves, he goes, "Oh, I would have fought him if you weren't here. I would have scared him off." And the kids laugh at that too. So it's nice that they recognize that he's a coward through and through, whether he's dealing with supernatural or just with people. You know. Go ahead.
That's kind of an interesting, like, presentation for the audience too, because in some ways that allows us to relate more so to Ichabod, because, you know, there's a part of us that wants to be brave and say, I don't believe in that stuff. And so then when he kind of finds himself getting afraid, we can kind of go on that journey with him instead of like watching someone who's already afraid and being like, okay, I don't buy this. You know, we can have more kind of compassion and relatability, and we can then we can like laugh at him, but we can also kind of be like, you know, we can join in on getting scared too. And then at the same time, you know, we see that cowardly part and we like him less, and there's a part of us that kind of says, serves you right, because
Yeah, serves him right. Yeah, and a lot of horror movies in general do that. They'll set up, if someone's gonna get, you know, slashed off later in the movie, particularly in older horror movies. Think of like Psycho. She's the woman that's killed in the shower, starts with her stealing money. So they usually give them some kind of moral thing that's not so good, so it kind of lessens the blow when they're killed off.
I'm not gonna lie, I feel like I definitely have gone through that exact phase of like, oh, I'm not scared. It's like going to a haunted house at like Six Flags. I'm like, my friend's like, you gonna be okay? Because I don't like horror stuff.
That's the other thing, is everyone knows that feeling. Every single person knows that feeling. And even if you don't believe in ghosts at all, you've all been, you know, at some dark place and you hear a sound and you
start running,
get away from you. I mean, like it says in the novel, in the short story, all these memories, childhood memories of stories that you heard, come flooding back, and you think, you know. Go ahead, Molly.
I feel like Ichabod sometimes in the sense where it's like, I'm not scared. I'm gonna go watch this horror movie and I'm not gonna be scared because it's not scary and it's not real. And then 10 minutes later, I'm like crying behind the couch, like, no, it's too scary. No, turn it off.
Yeah, everyone can relate to that. I want to bring up too, I know we're running out of time. The playwright does a really smart thing, and I'd love you guys to comment on it. And it's before he sees the three ghosts at the end of Act 1, he has a stomach ache from eating sour piccalilli, a whole bunch of food. Now, why is that in there?
I think it's to kind of put some, it's so he can have reasoning, because he's a man of reason, he keeps saying. It's to kind of put in that idea of like, oh, this isn't real, it's all just like, it's just the sour piccalilli messing with me. And it's supposed to put in that idea of like, he doesn't believe in the ghosts, like he doesn't want to. So he's trying to put some blame onto something like the piccalilli.
Yeah, Rocco, you had your hand up.
I was just gonna add on to what Josh said about, you know, why that's a reason why he blames the piccalilli. You mentioned this a little bit in rehearsal. Back in those days, you know, like no refrigerators and all that.
Food was questionable.
Food was a little more questionable, and I don't know why I'm talking about this when you're the one who talked related it to Scrooge, and how there's a line where he says like, oh, you're just a piece of old undigested potato when he's seeing a ghost.
Yeah, when he sees Jacob Marley, he blames it on a rotten potato, kind of giving him food poisoning and making him hallucinate. You know, and I want to mention too, I know I mentioned this last time, but my favorite Ebenezer Scrooge update is with Bill Murray from 1988. It's Scrooged, and they take that same exact line when he sees the Jacob Marley equivalent, but they update it and they say, you know, you're a hallucination. He's drinking vodka. He goes, brought on by alcohol. It's Russian vodka, so it's poisoned by Chernobyl. So he blames being the ghost on hallucinating from alcohol, poison from, you know, with nuclear radiation. You know, which is great.
We have
Harley.
time for one more question from our audience.
Yeah.
Dylan wants to know, is there something that drew you to this play or you connected with? And he also adds, I think you each brought unique flair to your characters and it made it really fun to watch. I enjoyed seeing everyone's genuine enthusiasm.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Dylan. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Drawn to this play. Well, every year I'm looking for shows that will work that are sort of for children. If they're not outright for children, that will work on our stage. And I came across Sleepy Hollow. I thought the script was really solid, and I thought, yeah, Sleepy Hollow. Every kid loves Halloween, and this is the story just lives and breathes Halloween, that essence of being playful and scary and having fun. And yeah, so I thought it'd be a good fit for the theater. And I knew Giuseppe already. And I was like, oh, there's Ichabod. And I knew you guys already, and I could see the cast. And yeah, kudos to everybody for being such a great cast. Everybody has their own unique character and quirks. Everybody's kind of quirky, and everyone looks different and is different heights and has different hair. And it's nice to see just the wide diversity in what you guys are like, both characters and just how you look and what you're wearing and all that stuff. Natalie.
I have something back to the food poisoning. So Ichabod couldn't have gotten food poisoning because didn't he say, like, when, Ron Bones was, like, Joss got behind him and was gonna trip him, didn't he say, like, well, what about the ham? So he never got to eat anything. I don't know if he got to drink anything.
Well, in the scene before he meets the three ghosts, yeah, he's chowing down on Piccalilli and stuff, yeah. And I know, I was gonna say, guys, I know that's a stretch to think, yeah, you get food poisoning and you hallucinate, but just, I have to say, just on a personal note, my grandmother a while back had something that went undetected that was kind of like food poisoning, and she got to a point, unfortunately, and I didn't see it, fortunately, and she doesn't remember it, fortunately, but it got so bad that it did affect her mind, and she hallucinated hardcore. She thought she saw people in the room, and so I mean, it's not that it's a stretch, but it can happen, so it's nice to give something that's supernatural some kind of grounding in reality, some mix in some rational explanation with the supernatural. Maybe it takes that to see that dimension or something, you know what I mean? Yeah. Molly McCon.
Yeah, so I just wanted to talk about like what drew me to this play personally. So we live in like Massachusetts, which is one of the most historical states in our country. And I grew up going to this colonial village called Old Sturbridge Village, which is a living history museum. I love it so much.
Oh, good.
On the way driving there, they used to have this sign for this old like motel or inn called Sleepy Hollow. And it was this like gorgeous colonial sign, and it had like a picturesque scene on it and said Sleepy Hollow. And unfortunately it's gone, it's been torn down, or it like just decayed from years of neglect. But like seeing that sign and then going to this colonial village that's like full of history and like all these different places, that's sort of what really drew me to this. Is like, it's my childhood, it's like where I grew up.
Yeah, that sealed the deal for me too, in the sense that, yeah, we live in Massachusetts, we live in New England, so we can relate to the small towns and the autumn foliage and all that. And yeah, Josh.
It's something similar. I know of Sturbridge Village as well, but what was funny to me is that for my school like field trip that year, we went to Salem, Mass, which is obviously very spooky of a place with its history. So I thought it was just so when Sleepy Hollow is one of the options.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I gotta be a part of that. That'd be so cool. Because I gotta
Speaking of Salem, Josh, I meant to mention this when we were talking about food poisoning and hallucinating and things like that. I've heard more and more recently, I don't know much about it, but there's more and more evidence that gives validity to the theory that there was literally like something in the water, nearby that was messing with their heads or giving a strange disease that made them like nonstop move or dance like until they dropped dead. Or something like that, and people they didn't know the rational explanation, so they blamed it on a supernatural one, witchcraft, right? I mean, it's pretty wild.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's a cool connection.
Harley, are there any more questions from the audience?
You're muted.
Oh, unmute you, sir. Unmute yourself.
Sorry, I thought I clicked it. Justin wants to know, many of you were in 3 different shows over the course of the summer. How did you keep things straight?
You just spend a lot of time memorizing these lines, and we have a really great crew here. Not only have a lot of these people just been in the same 3 shows in a summer, but a lot of us have worked 5 years straight together. So we have a really good team here, and we all love what we do, and we've had some magical moments here at Majestic Theater, just performing these shows together. And how do we keep it straight? Well, I remember my my first summer. I just so happened to just have some really big roles in all 3 shows, and it was a lot of memorizing to do. But it's really, I don't find it to be such a big challenge to get characters mixed up or anything, because when you're in that mindset, when you're with these people with this beautiful set. You find yourself in the moment. You find yourself in this character. So really, it wasn't confusing or anything to be in 3 shows a year here. It was really a pleasure to just spend more time here performing.
Yeah, I think when you're just doing something you love, and you're surrounded by a good group of people, it's it's not really stressful at all. So I mean, like he said, it's actually pretty chill, pretty easy, I think.
And of course, it doesn't hurt to have known people for years beforehand.
Right.
A couple of us started that first year together. I was 12. That was years ago now. We all started that first year, and so we all a lot of us are just comfortable with each other, so it's easy to bounce off one another when going through lines and whatnot.
I must say that the group of people is very important too. Because I remember Sleepy Hollow was my first year with Majestic. I've only been with them for 3 summers. Sleepy Hollow, I think, was my first summer with them, and it was really, at first, it was nerve-wracking for sure, because I hadn't even done theater that much prior to Sleepy Hollow. So theater was something that I was just venturing into, and the people, everyone was so friendly. It was there was jokes, there was laughs, it was good vibes all around. So that was nice. And what also really helped is the long days of rehearsal that we had. So I remember I was in 2 shows that summer, Sleepy Hollow and was it Sleeping Beauty? I think so. Yeah. And because we had times when it was just all Sleepy Hollow, I would be doing both lines at home, but had rehearsals for hours and it was just Sleepy Hollow. So it was never a time when it was lines being mixed up in my head or characters or scene. I knew Sleepy Hollow, I knew Sleeping Beauty was 2 separate things, so nothing ever got too complex, too confusing. So it was really nice. But for sure, the relationship, the vibes, it was great. It was a great time.
That's good to hear, Felix, and I'm glad you guys didn't stress out too much. That's amazing to hear. Because how long do we rehearse for, everyone?
1 week.
A week.
1 week.
1 week, folks.
I compare it to my plays at school. Since the kids haven't had much, the other kids haven't had much experience doing that, it would take them weeks, do the play for a month or 2.
Yeah, school for months.
It would come up to the show, and some of them would still stutter on their lines, and I would think back to when we did this, and I'd be like, I did this in a week, and they took months to do it.
Yeah, Rocco.
A really great memory I have of you, Stephen, is when we were doing Aesop's Also Slightly Updated Fables, and on the very first day of rehearsal, maybe we had just been sitting there for just a couple minutes past the time that we were supposed to start, and then all of a sudden you're just okay, so this person's just gonna go up in the stage and you're gonna enter here on the left, and just immediately started going into it. And that's really where I learned this process of putting together a play. It's you can have a community theater where we're all just here to have a great time and to learn. And I mean, we also do that here, but for this play, we're all here to put this play together, and we're all here to work. And we all have this this professional like mindset here. Of course, we all like goof off and have a great time, but it's really great the discipline that we all have, and just be like, here we are, we're ready to put this show together.
Yeah, the play's the thing, and it's about the audience coming. I hope you guys have fun, but that isn't really the goal. Have fun because the audience can feel that in your performance. Some of the most memorable like Saturday Night Live skits are when they all start cracking up and laughing at each other, and you can see that they're friends and they make each other laugh, and you get that spirit from you guys without it being unprofessional or anything. Someone else? Maddie?
I think the fact that we do it in a week is a testament to the support system that we have, because we have such amazing people around us, and we do build such a community. And I do think of all you guys as like my second family. I mean, I joined when I was 13. I did 4 summers, I think. I can't add, but I think I did 4 summers, and it's crazy and intense and insane. But I never remember feeling stressed. Which is weird because there's a lot going on, but I don't remember feeling stressed. I just remember feeling like, okay, got to get down to business and get this done. But it's really, I remember my first day coming home from my first rehearsal. I was like, okay, yeah, this is it. This is the place. This is the best place on earth. And it's just the most fun to do. I love it.
It's worth mentioning too, I think, as to folks at home who don't know, we rehearse the show in a week. There's 2 other children's shows going on, kind of rehearsing on top of each other, that need to be put together. And also, there's a lot of things happening at the Majestic in the summer. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, there are concerts that need to load in. So Wednesday night, there's improv. Tuesday night, there's an open mic night. So whatever children's show set goes up, it has to easily come down. So that's a challenge for me to try and create something that visually works, but can come up and down and be loaded in and out without too much hassle. So it's not like it's the only thing happening at the theater. There's so much else going on, and the theater just has given limitations. I prefer to call them like parameters. We don't have enormous wing space. There's just 5 feet on either end, and then you're outside, and then there's this narrow corner you have to go to backstage, and there isn't much storage space backstage. And you also have to go up 3 steps, to get to the wing. Things can roll on and off easily. Which is one of the reasons why the Horseman is a projection, because the thought of trying to build some operating, moving horse thing, I just said, forget it. Let's try and use a projection, and I think it works fine. Natalie.
What else is crazy is that we're talking about this thing, like this one play, and it took a while. We did it in a week, but it felt like a long time doing that, and we're summing it up just in one meeting for 1 hour. We spent hours every day a week practicing to do all it.
Yeah, and I have to say, it's not like I could I wouldn't want to direct this way anyway, but it's not like I can let you guys just kind of figure out all the blocking. I want it to look like a storybook, pages out of a storybook. I think blocking, particularly if it's for children, should tell the story in the sense that even if you were hard of hearing or deaf, you'd get the gist of what's going on, and it should look like a storybook and composed for children, because they're not going to understand every word, and they'll just take it in visually. And I think visually, it tells the story. Anyone else? Any questions, Carly?
No questions from the audience, unfortunately. I think we have just about run out of time, unless if anyone has any final comments.
Final comments, folks.
One last shot.
Molly Robinson has her hand up.
Yeah, I do have to say one thing about the Majestic Theater is that it really is that we were all talking about and how the support system is so great. I learned so much in my first summer at the Majestic Theater. I was an 8th grader who had done only 3 public plays in her entire theater career and really wanted to go as far as Hollywood. And the Majestic Theater support system helped me so much with learning all sorts of things about ad-libbing, blocking, and it helped preparing for high school theater, which is a lot more difficult and sophisticated than middle school theater is. So I want to thank them so much for allowing me to learn how to do that.
Someone else? Natalie?
Oh, who loved signing autographs? Since I was little, I felt like I was famous. Wanted my autograph. And I remember one time I was at one of the shows, and it was like a year after I did A Little Princess, or it was one of the shows with A Little Princess, and one of the girls was like, "Oh, you were Lottie in A Little Princess," and I was like, "Yeah," and I was like, they knew who I was.
It's nice to get recognized.
So I've been recognized out in like random public places. Like I went to a Scottish festival and someone went, "You were Pinocchio." And this was like a couple years after Pinocchio, and like, "You were Pinocchio." I'm just like,
you feel so famous.
I recognized twice.
I worked at Olive Garden and I played volleyball in the summer, and there was a kid at the volleyball place that knew who I was. And then at Olive Garden, there would always be little kids that would come up, "Were you the bear?"
Jungle Book, yeah.
It's so funny.
I got recognized multiple times, but the 2 times I can remember was once when I was standing in line to get autographs after Aladdin, and this woman in the crowd looked at me and said, "You were in Legend of Sleepy Hollow. You did a good job."
Hey, Anirudh, have you ever been recognized out in public for being Mowgli or anything like that?
Yeah, probably like a ton of times. I'm just walking around and then be like, a couple of people riding their bikes like, "Hey, are you the guy who played in Jungle Book?" I'm like, yeah.
That's right.
You feel like a celebrity.
Awesome. Unfortunately, we're out of time for today, but I'm really glad that we ended on that note because it's really important to draw attention to the community that theater builds, both inside our own performance stage and outside, and being able to connect and even getting recognized on the street. So with that, I just want to say thank you guys for being here, and if you really value this production and you want to see more content like this, please consider donating. But until next time, thank you, everyone.
Until next time, that's what I say at the end of every play, because
exactly.
See you guys again. All right?
Yeah.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone who tuned in at home. Thank you.